NCAA, what core courses high school students need to take in order to compete at the college level, the eligibility center, all that fun stuff, all those hoops you have to go through in order to become a college level athlete. And it's become an information session, but then it's also opened up into this open forum where the athletes are able to ask all the panel of coaches that are coaching at the camp questions. And some of the questions really show you some of the misnomers that are out there, some of the confusions while going through this process. And it's great because we really get to educate the kids on what it's all about. You know, we get questions like, what kind of 2K score do you need to get a scholarship at a Division I school? And we're like, you know, 730 or better. And then the hand shoots up again. Well, what if you don't earn that much? Then what? You know, and you know, really just educating them, but also kind of bringing to light all the different opportunities that there are out there. You know, and the brochure was really pretty, and that's, honest to God, that's why I applied to Washington College. Neither of my parents went to college, so I was kind of just going through the woods blind, and I didn't really know, you know, what that whole application process was like. So that's why I picked it, and if I could do my college experience all over again, I would definitely come back here. You know, especially now that we've got these nice buildings here now. They didn't have that when I was here. So. The other thing was, you know, as Mike mentioned, I got to do 2 sports when I was here. The other thing I got to do was double major in economics and political science. And that, for me, is just a neat accomplishment. And I think it's also very difficult to maybe do that at the other divisions. You have that flexibility to do that. So that was a lot of fun. You have that little bit of balance. The other story I wanted to tell you guys was that D3 athletes, we kind of have this chip on our shoulder, like, we do it for the love of the sport. You know, when I was having my will drawn up, when we were meeting the lawyer, my husband and I, we were chatting away, and he's like, oh, you're a coach, oh, that's great. And my husband's a soccer coach. Oh, wow, you know, and he was the lawyer was a runner, I guess, at Middlebury. And I was like, oh, D3, and he's like, yeah, D3. And we're both like, yeah. My husband was a Division I soccer player. And so the lawyer and I are like, yeah, love of the sport. And my husband's just like, oh, God, can I get out of here now? And so, you know, we do have that, you know, kind of, you know, we do it for the love of the sport, you know. So let's break down the different divisions. The Division III level for women's rowing, and I only kind of did the research for women's rowing, there's 39 schools that sponsor Division III rowing at the NCAA level. They're all throughout the New England region. You got Wesleyan, where I coached for 2 years, Trinity, Williams, all the NESCAC schools, really good academic schools. You have the Mid-Atlantic region, you've got Washington College, Mary Washington, Marietta, and then you've got schools out in the Pacific Northwest, like Pacific Lutheran and the University of Puget Sound. So kind of really smattering all over the country there. Some schools can offer you assistance at admissions. You know, that's also a really big help, especially at these, you know, really strong academic programs. But at the Division III level, there is no athletic scholarship. And but there's merit scholarships, there's academic scholarships that are out there. So that's really, you know, people focus on that a lot. Division III, you know, no athletic scholarship. At the 2010 NCAA championships, 7 teams were selected, and a team at the Division III level is 2 8s, and 2 at-large 8s were selected to go. So that's the breakdown: 39 schools and a total of 7 teams, 2 8s. So overall, you know, at the Division III level, you're looking at a smaller scale, a smaller school, usually smaller team size, fewer practice days, and that's how I was able to do 2 sports. You know, the practice days are limited. There's shorter falls. You know, the winter time was when I was able to swim, and then the springtime racing season starts up after that. And usually they're located on adorable campuses, again, as you can see, Washington College. At the Division II level, there's 17 schools, so it's a much smaller division, and it's kind of this obscure division not many people know about. You've got schools in the New England, Mid-Atlantic, in the South, the West Coast, and there's 1 school in the Midwest, which is the University of Central Oklahoma. In New England, you've got Franklin Pierce and Assumption College. In the Mid-Atlantic, you've got Charleston, which is in West Virginia, Philadelphia University, Mercyhurst, and in the South, you've got Barry, Nova Southeastern, and FIT. So that's kind of, you know, where these Division II schools are. They can offer you possible admissions assistance, and yes, they do have athletic scholarships. So that's another really neat thing that maybe people don't know about Division II. There are scholarships available, And there are possible full scholarships available. You just would need to talk to the individual schools. And it's a little bit, I'm trying to think of the wording here, but if you have maybe a slower ERG score, you have a better chance of maybe getting a scholarship. Our volunteer coach at Navy right now, she worked at a Division II school, and she was saying, you know, coaches, you know, if you got a 740 or 750, there's a little bit better chance that you could get a scholarship at these schools. But that, again, that's just hearsay. You might want to contact those coaches directly. At the 2010 NCAA Championships, 4 teams were selected, and 2 at-large 8, and a team is 1-8 and 1-4. So overall, it's a smaller scale, much smaller team. You're probably at slightly larger schools. You've got more practice days. They're probably similar to the Division I. And with only 17 schools, you probably have a better chance of going to the NCAA Championships. At the Division I level, there's 85 schools. So it's a lot of schools. They're all over the country, and obviously is the most competitive division of all. Some of the student bodies are slightly larger than the Division III schools, so some of these schools you're looking at bigger schools, and other schools you're looking at really big. So that's the difference there in the actual student bodies. You could possibly get admissions assistance, and yes, athletic scholarships are available at these schools. At the 2010 NCAA Championship, 16 teams were selected to go, and a team at the Division I level is 2 8s and 1 4. I didn't have to read that because I know that one. So. Overall, you're looking at a larger school, a larger team, more practice days. We're allowed 156 days over the course of the year. So our falls, you know, in particular at Navy, we'll do about early September to early November. And then we start up again early in January just to really get cracking, get them on the ergs, and we'll go all the way to mid-May. So it's a long season. At the Division I level, if you have a scholarship, it's like having a job. You know, it's school and athletics, and there's not a whole lot of wiggle room for anything else. And so you really have to love the sport, even though I was joking about the Division III athletes. You really have to want to do this because it takes up a majority of your time. And then finally, there's club. There's still a whole nother avenue out there. There's the club level. They don't follow the NCAA rules so they can practice as little as they want. They can practice as much as they want. They usually function under a self-made budget, or the school that they're at may provide a budget in their recreation sports. So it all depends per school. They're usually, you know, student run, so the students are coaching, the students are, you know, making sure the equipment's up to date, and that takes a lot of work. And that's kind of a neat thing too, though, you know, because these kids learn leadership on a very early stage, and they learn how to maintain something and a really communal effort. So I think that's a really neat thing. Notable clubs, I did my research at the Dad Vales last year. Notable clubs that did well were Purdue, Lafayette, Northwestern, Grand Valley, and University of Vermont. And then there are some schools with Division I NCAA teams that also have club teams, such as the University of Tennessee and the University of Texas. And there should be some other ones. I saw your sweatshirt earlier. So, you know, you know, just in summary, guys, there's just so much out there, and luckily nowadays you guys have the internet. You know, your students have the internet to do research on. I had brochures to look at, and maybe that was a good thing, you know. But there's so many variables, and you want to encourage your students to pick the school first. You know, if they want to row, there's so many things out there. There's so many different places to go to, and there's just a lot more opportunities than they might think. So 4 minutes to go. I always knew I'd be done, so. So I guess I'll start questions now, if you guys want to open it to questions. Yeah, Mike.
So, Coach, you do a lot of recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you spend, do you think, of your work day?
On my work day, I would say 50% or more, answering emails. And
what could a college coach do in terms of connecting with you to help their student be seen?
Like a high school student, a high school coach?
Right. So let's say I have a student that I really think this would be a great place to go. So what can I do in terms of, this isn't the stage question.
Yeah, no. You know, ERG score is a big one, and not only me, but a lot of college coaches really focus on the ERG score, and that's a big deal. So 2K ERG score, 5K ERG score, and it depends on the school, you know, what your preference is, and you know, some schools won't even talk to you if you have a certain ERG score, other schools will. So just don't be shy, and if that's the school you want to go to, approach that coach and speak to them directly. SATs are a really big deal at Navy. I need to make sure their SATs are up to par. And again, that's on an individual basis per school as well. GPA, and usually those are like the 3 variables that get looked at first. And then a coach's recommendation is also really helpful, especially for coxswains. We definitely recruit coxswains, and so if I could get a recommendation for a coxswain or get a recording, those are really, really helpful things to have. Yeah.
I'm sure you have some people that reach out to you on a consistent basis that aren't quite where you want them to be. How do you kind of let them down gently? What do you kind of do to go about to, let them know that, hey, maybe you should look somewhere else?
I'm pretty frank. If a kid emails me and tells me their ERG score, and if it's not to par, I'll say, listen, this is the ERG score that we heavily recruit for. If your SATs, if their SATs are academically within the range, I would still encourage them to apply to the academy, and then if they were to get in, we'd love to have them walk onto the team. And that's the thing, I feel like I'm very frank with recruits, and I would appreciate the same. There was a really funny article in the Rowing News a couple years ago, the back page story, and it was about, the recruit breaking up with the coach, I called her, she never called back, and, kind of distancing herself, and, then she gave the "it's not you, it's me" speech and things like that. So I'm frank, and I appreciate that same frankness back. So.
Just a quick aside, how do you deal with sometimes parents? I know most of us have to deal with parents who sometimes want things.
I don't deal with parents nearly as much as you guys do.
Yeah.
So, but the one thing is, I have parents a lot that contact me on behalf of their child, and I'd rather speak to the kid. Because what if mom and dad really want Susie to come to the Naval Academy, but Susie wants nothing to do with the Naval Academy? Then I always say, hey, have Susie contact me, and usually that helps things. Yeah.
Well, what's your general time frame? Breakdown, you want to hear from him at this point in time. This point in time, it's good, but at this point, it's a little bit late.
In terms of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah. The nice thing about the Naval Academy is I have a service academy exception, so I'm able to speak to kids in their junior year of high school because the application process is so lengthy. So I'm going to start talking to the juniors really heavily right now this month about our summer seminar program in the summertime, and then usually in the summer is when I'm saying, let's get that application in as soon as possible, because at Navy our admissions is rolling, which means
when do you want them to know about them? When do you want them on your radar? Before?
When they're a junior.
When they're a junior.
Yeah, because that's when I can talk to them. Yeah. So.
Is it true that you might like them to contact you when they're freshmen, just to start a file on it?
Yes, I would. That was a staged one. Anything?
And I'll add this from our end. We're seeing a lot more students go early decision. So we're seeing now students that want to get wrapped up in October of their senior year done. And from a coach's standpoint, that's great, because we want to be done that year as soon as we can. So that seems to be an evolving thing. We have juniors now. We actually had a junior that wanted to knock on the door about applying in her junior year. And granted, it's a different academy, different institution. So we're seeing this more of a push. I think it's more from the parents than the kids. I think the economy's had that change. Have you noticed a big change?
Yeah. The economy, with the free education, there's been a lot more interest in the Naval Academy, definitely. Yeah.
How important is height and length, even though the ERG school with this and military, like you said, long, so long?
It depends. It depends on the program. If you looked at our program, you'd see actually a lot of women on the small side. And we kind of take pride in the fact that our women are a little bit more tough, and we get a lot more. In fact, we probably get way more out of them than what a lot of people think are capable of them. So, again, it depends on the personality of the coach and the program. Yeah.
Any other questions?